right, my friends. So I'm here to talk about a slightly different topic today, biohacking. And so what is biohacking? And I also decided to change the headline of my talk earlier today and decided to call it Implant Technology, the Early Days, which I think we're in. I am the founder of the Swedish Biohacker Association, and in this association we do various things. I'm going to briefly just tell you what biohacking is all about. So biohacking is, you guys probably think of hackers as bad guys who break into systems and steal data or money or whatever, but original meaning of hacking is just to experiment. And what we biohackers do is we experiment with biology. Anything from cells to plants to Homo sapiens. And we have the do-it-yourself approach, and we are grassroots, we are not organized, it's an open network and anyone can participate. Biohacking is also, it's not just what we do, but how we do it. And we like to do things, we even create the tools ourselves. So we're part of this maker movement in that sense. This, for example, is if you want to centrifuge DNA to separate proteins, for example, from each other, you need a centrifuge. They are quite expensive to get in a lab, but you can actually 3D print one of these little things and put it on a power drill, and you can make your own centrifuge at home. So this is also what we like to do. We build our own tools so we can have our own biolabs in the kitchens or student dorms or wherever we hang out. What is sort of the whole driving force in this biohacker movement is the rapidly changing speed of what we call it synthetic biology, how it becomes cheaper, biology becoming digitized, and here is a curve that shows you the price of mapping a human genome that used to cost over 100 million just 10 years ago, and we are now at the level where we can map a human genome for just about $1,000. And very likely we will see that it will cost even a fraction of that in just a couple of years' time. And within the whole biohacking thing, body hacking is a separate section. So here I've listed some. You have the established classical things that people do to improve their performance. You can exercise, you tweak your nutrition, etc. And then we have the more emergent things that are sort of exist but are not totally mainstream. Sort of self-logging, quantified self with various devices, nootropics or smart drugs, experimenting with these, trying precision medicine. You map your own DNA and see what medicines work with this, or electrical brain stimulation. And then we have the futuristic ones, where you actually look into changing your own, see what can be done with using special viruses to, for example, change how my cells operate, or also the aspect of integrating man and machine. So it's a bit visionary. And as you can see on the colors, we like to call this one, the last one is the vanilla, and then you have chocolate, and then we have the more exotic fruit for the funnest ones. So here's an example of a hack we did. Transcranial direct current stimulation. It's a way where you excite the neurons in the brain to improve learning and concentration. And in some tests, some scientific tests, there has been a sort of an effect. But we believe that what works for you may not work for me. And so we decided to build our own devices and try how did they work. And what it did for me in this instance, when we had this experiment, was that it cured my hangover. So that was a pretty cool user case. Not sure it works like that for everyone. Okay, but coming to sort of the most interesting aspect here, which is the chip implants that I and a lot of my friends now carry. It all started about a year ago when we saw a campaign on Indiegogo to create an NFC-enabled chip implant. So we said, hey, let's have an implant party. So I brought together some friends who are interested in tech and experimenting with tech, and we all implanted ourselves, and we read a little bit of philosophy and Kevin Kelly and stuff like that. And then we thought, hey, let's get a little bit serious, because this technology is actually quite interesting. So we looked at, we made some certain observations. We see that the Internet of Things is here, and how are we supposed to interact with it? So we set up a couple of objectives. Let's get 100 people to implant themselves and see if we can create a user base, and we can look at some relevant user cases for this technology. And even perhaps help develop an ecosystem of service providers around this platform. So looking at what we want to do with these implants, first we see that a lot of stuff that we carry with us today, we carry too much stuff. How many of you guys, when you stand by the door in the morning, you say, okay, I have my wallet, I have my keys, I have my phone, yada yada. So what if we could make life a little bit less cluttered? And most of the stuff that we carry around, these keys and all these cards, it's actually stuff we use to identify ourselves in various contexts. I use the key to say that, okay, I have the right to enter this door or open this lock, to use this bike, to use this car. I have this swipe card to get into this building or to get in there, you know. And we have all these various different devices. Also, that the current systems that we use to access and identify ourselves in the digital context, they are not very human-friendly. You know, we forget password. I mean, you guys are all security experts. You may not make as many mistakes as the normal person, but for an average user, you forget your password, you email it to one mail account, then you reuse that password on your Facebook profile, and you know, it's just a not very well-working system. So what I've achieved in this last couple of months that I've been chipped is I've replaced all these things that you see here and put them into my hand. So you have door keys, bike key, lock key, various access to buildings, some rebate memberships for different shops around Sweden, my business card, my gym card, etc. And you know, that is even before there exists a system to do these things. So this is what I just managed to set up myself without a lot of work. And without sort of there being anyone prepared to help me to do it. This has certainly made my life a little bit easier and perhaps a little bit more interesting as well. But getting into the more serious things, there are in fact a number of relevant user cases already for this, what I like to call Generation 1 smart implants. And let's look at a few of those. So first of all, I'd like to say there's two categories, first of all. So you have the identification and information storage aspects on these chips. First of all, it's the identification. So to simply identify myself to access various buildings or other things. You also have an interesting case in terms of activation of devices that maybe, we don't, this is not the United States, but if you have a handgun in your home and you may not want your kids to find it and harm themselves, or a burglar to use it, it's actually really easy to put a NFC reader into the handle of a gun. And that means that it's only the person who has that chip in your hand who can hold the gun, and then it's activated. So this is a pretty interesting user case in my view. You also have the whole personalization aspect. Let's say that me and my wife, we share the same car and we have very different body sizes. So whenever she's been driving, I have to reset the mirrors and the seats and all. It's a little bit of a mess every morning. So let's say that there was just a simple swipe aspect when I grabbed the steering wheel, that the car recognized, okay, it's Hannes in the car, and then adjusted the seats and the mirrors accordingly. You also have, of course, the whole transaction verification aspect. And here I think, since this involves perhaps a little bit higher level of security, it makes more sense to have an implant ID as part of a two-factor verification. So the implant may not replace a bank card, but it may perhaps replace the PIN code. So let's say I swipe my card and then instead of the PIN, I swipe my hand. So it doesn't matter if someone looks over my shoulder to see my PIN or whatever they do. Now, a lot of my friends in the security business, they say, oh, but you shouldn't, have stuff in your body that creates an additional risk for you, that exposes you to harm if someone wants to rob you. And that is a valid concern. But I guess it depends very much on when and where you use it. And maybe if I drive a fancy car through some streets in a dangerous city and I have the car key in my hand, it's likely to be stolen. But if I'm just an office guy in a small town in Sweden unlocking my bike, perhaps I'm not that exposed. We also have a very interesting scenario in terms of activity logging, which you know is very popular. So the gym context, I think, is very useful. Now, I already have the capacity to log into my gym with my implant. I just swipe it when I go through the doors. But I would love to have the ability to swipe on every machine that I go to in the gym so that we can count and log the actual exercise that I have performed automatically. Let's say that I swipe the machine and then I perform 3 sets of 8 repetitions of the weight of X, and it will all be downloaded into a system. I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in such a service. And of course, the entire health logging aspect. We have the smart toilets coming, right? So, but how is the toilet supposed to know that it's me and not one of my family members or a guest? Well, identification by a simple swiping of the hand is, in my views, the most intuitive and easy way to identify in this context, instead of trying to sample the DNA of my expressions and to make sure who I am, right? And then we have the entire information retrieval aspect, which I won't go into detail with, but I have my business card in my hand. I have friends who they have a shopping list. I mean, the information retrieval is super quick. You just tap your phone on the implant and the data is displayed. There's some guys who store Bitcoin on their implants. You can also experiment with various encryption solutions in the system. Or you can have your health data. Let's say you get in an accident in the future, it's not there yet, and you can have your blood group or any allergies or any particular diseases. Also stuff that people today carry in their wallet or around their neck. And putting this into a somewhat more important context, this idea of having smart implants in your hand. I think that if you look back in tech history, there are certain things that happen that sort of create a new way for humans and machines to interact with each other. And mostly they are about making things easier for us humans, such as the first Windows desktop, or when we had the first web browser. It created a completely new way for us to find data on the web, and it also gave rise to a huge number of completely new business models. I think that the implant technology has a similar potential just by making the interface between humans and machines so much easier. Because I think that with an implant, the implant actually speaks the language of the machines. So it's given my body a new language. Instead of the machines having to interpret my voice or my movements or gestures, I just talk the language which the machines immediately understand. So, what about the future then of implant technology? Will we become cyborgs? I mean, it's no tech conference is complete without a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Well, let me tell you that we already have cyborgs around us. Quite a few of them. They just don't look like this. They look more like this. With having all these medical implants that people now have, even smart medical implants like hearing aids, insulin pumps, pacemakers, and all these devices that infirm people get to use when they get older, or people with certain diseases have to use. They are also becoming connected to a much greater extent, which is a completely separate security discussion, of course. We also have this entire fitness and activity trackers, which people carry around, and they are always connected, sharing data in all various directions. The weakness, however, we have spotted with these wearables currently are a lot of people get tired of them, because again, this is just another thing that clutters people's lives. It makes it, oh, it's another thing I have to remember to charge or to coordinate with the app, and it's another thing I have to carry around, and maybe it doesn't look good with that dress, so I'll forget it this day, and suddenly it ends up in the drawer. We also have a massive development currently in smart prosthetics. Perhaps you've seen the recent videos from DARPA of guys who have lost their arms, actually eating grapes and pouring beer, and this is a field which is developing extremely quick at the moment, and I think that we will see that these devices are also connected for various reasons. I mean, you don't need an implant if you have a whole artificial limb. You can actually put a lot of interesting technology into that limb. So, in total, there's a fast-growing ecosystem, and there's a lot of different buzzwords. My favorite is underwear, stuff you wear under your skin. A whole growing ecosystem of things that are actually in the body, that are connected to the Internet of Things. And this creates a lot of security questions. It's something that we need to, and you guys need to help me to deal with. And how do we make sure that these health data are kept safe? How do we make sure that people don't hack into someone else's body and do harm in some way or other? And we can be quite sure that the current level of technology that we see, looking at these trends of Moore's law and miniaturization and sensors becoming cheaper and artificial intelligence becoming more widely available for these kind of uses, that it will certainly not stay on this level. So I believe that a lot of these technologies that we see will actually be moving under the skin. Just because you want something that is always on, always there, and it's not sort of disturbing your life in any way. You don't have to charge it, you don't have to worry if it looks good with this or those clothes. So, this is really, to sum up my points here, I believe that the connected body is a concept that we need to be dealing with, that we need to understand, and here are sort of three of my guesses for the coming few years, what we will see. I think that this case of quick digital identification as one way for us to interact with all the smart devices around us is really going to be something that a lot of people will be interested in using. And I think that this technology that I and this little project that I'm doing with my friends in Sweden, we are now approaching 300 people who have implanted themselves in the last few months. Will be the killer app will be when we can ride the bus or the subway with our implants. Then I think interest will be this will become interesting for a lot more people. I also think that health monitoring and these wearable devices that we see, they are likely to move under the skin. Not just because they are look ugly the way they are now, but also because under the skin you can capture much better data because you get access to the body fluids. And finally, there's an interesting aspect in the digital login and encryption. Perhaps not for the most important things, but to replace all these silly passwords that we use at the moment that really don't work at all. So this technology has the potential to solve some of these issues. So I'd like to thank you very much for your attention, and I think we're going to see a little bit of live body hacking here soon, possibly. But, Povel?
Thank you very much, Hannes. So, we also have a small announcement to make, actually, and I'd like to invite Ryan and Marco up on stage quickly, if you're in here. And also our friendly piercer, Alex.
Guys.
So I think as a forward-thinking company, we need to keep an eye on what's going on. And we don't always know exactly where things are going to head. But I think in this case, what we can announce today is we're going to be working with Biohacking here over the next 6 to 12 months to find out a bit more about this technology. And I'm really interested in hearing from you, Marco. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you expect to, where this might go?
Yeah, thanks. In principle, it's a completely new area and quite interesting. I mean, just imagine you have a device in your body which is able to just transmit or receive data wireless, so nothing plug in anymore. This opens a complete new set of possible attack vectors we need to explore, of course. I mean, for example, it's easier to track you, like just profiles where you're wandering around just simply, and then going further and further into like intercepting data which is transmitted, or even changing data which is transmitted, or also like testing the device without knowing you. Like when you're in the subway and someone beside you with a notebook and just trying to crack your chip which is under your skin, and you will not notice it. So there are a lot of new scenarios we need to explore in this, and I'm happy to work with you on that.
Yeah, we're quite excited too, and you're indeed a forward-looking company who like to get into this at this, I'd say, super early stage where it's still very much an underground phenomena. But I think we will learn a lot of things together and help develop this system, and also make it safe for us users, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's the main point, to find out new weaknesses to ensure that new generations of that devices will be more secure in several ways.
Great.
Thank you, Marco. Thank you. So we have a victim volunteer to get implanted with an RFID chip, and if you can just explain to us what's going on.
Right, so the purpose of this little observation is to show you how quick and easy it is to become an upgraded person. And Pavel has kindly volunteered. Have you decided where in your hand you want your implant, Pavel? So yeah, it's a couple of options normally.
No.
A lot of people like to have the implant here because this is the easy point to interact with the smartphone. However, another group of users like to have the implant here because if you more think that I'm going to use it to open doors and similar things, then this is an easier location. Ultimately, I guess we will have multiple implants, but we'll start with one today. So to help us out with this work, we like to use a professional. So we found a very experienced gentleman who does piercing, and we are just getting ready here for the operation.
Do we need a microphone on Pavel for when he screams?
Tequila will definitely help, but not before. It's not allowed before any operation, of course. And we'll... all right. How do you feel, Pavel? The operation is fairly quick, and I mean, I've witnessed about 100 implantings in the last few months, so I don't expect anything strange to happen.
All right, we're ready.
Okay, we're ready.
Pavel assures us that he loves needles, so... Any final words?
You may want to look the other direction. It depends on personality, really.
Can we get the... There we go.
Right, so Biohacking Live. Now, where to put it?
Breathe, Pavel, breathe.
There's still time to run.
Give us the shot of his hand. Can we get the shot of Pavel's hand on the screen? There we go. That's the one.
So first there's a little bit of massage to loosen the skin, because the implant goes right between the fat and the bindväv, which is called in Swedish. Anyway, the what is outside of the muscle. So you want to put it in between two layers where it can't move around. So actually the pinching is more painful than the injection. Un, dos, tres. There you go.